Okay, so my family came upstairs when I was reading that book in my last video. But I'm downstairs now, and so I homeschool my kids, and this, like, I'm way too happy about this homeschool curriculum, but I wanted to share a page with YouTube because I have a bunch of kids, right? And I've seen a bunch of their school books. And, like, even when they were, like, 5, like my one son that I'm teaching first grade right now, I've never seen this. And this curriculum, Our Lady of Victories, okay, it's amazing. It's like the first or second curriculum ever. Anyways, look at this page. I gotta find it. Hold on a second. Also, the Baltimore Catechism. It's amazing. Where are you? Right here. Look at this. Look at this. There's the Infant of Prague. I'm assuming. Looks kind of funnier than I've seen. Okay. God made all those things. Okay, look at this. Can you see it? Work, play. Work and play. Work and play. Work and play. Work, and I made a horse carrying that just to make him laugh. And play. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that absolutely amazing? It's teaching my 5-year-old, right, to be a hardworking human being at the age of 5. You will never see that. Like, in regular public schools, or like they'll teach them to do their schoolwork, but that was just pictures of people mowing lawns and being responsible human beings. Maybe I'm way too excited about this, though. I'm not really sure if I'm crazy. Anyway, and there's more. There's more. Oh, I'm teaching him Latin songs. Like, a CD came with the curriculum, and it's going to be teaching all of the Latin Mass parts and, like, the Latin. It's so amazing. I think this curriculum, my friend who recommended it for me, is, like, specifically, like, the traditional, like, Latin Mass goer Catholics homeschool dream curriculum. And it's also the oldest, or like either the oldest or the second oldest. I'm not really sure. Definitely the oldest or the second oldest. But anyways, I'm gonna get to learn all the Latin parts from teaching my child. It's amazing. So yeah, I'll be like a Latin Mass, Latin, connoisseur. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I'll know how to say it in Latin by the end of the school year, but I won't know what any Latin means. I'll just know how to recite it. But yeah. So let me finish that chapter real quick. There's like one page left. So we're talking about all of the abuses happening, and places of worship are made available for rock music events, and all the excesses that these habitually involve. Such churches and cathedrals have been given over to debauchery, drugs, and filth of all kinds. It's true, I've seen it. And it is not the local clergy who have them then performed ceremonies of expiation, but groups of the faithful rightly disgusted by these scandals. So the clergy is not even fighting against it. It's groups of the faithful being disgusted by it. Okay, on that note, Maybe I shouldn't put this on YouTube. I probably shouldn't. But there's so many things happening in this world that faithful people are not rightly fighting against, even in my own life. And it's just really, it's disheartening for me how many people aren't fighting these evil mortal sins, like with their money, with their actions, and it's really sad. I mean, people don't know. People just really don't know. But it's like, I wish I could share. Let me think. Where was I? How can the bishops and priests who have encouraged these things not fear to bring down divine punishment upon themselves and their people? It is already apparent in the fruitlessness of their work. It is all wasted because the holy sacrifice of the Mass, desecrated as it is, no longer confers. I don't know about this part. I should probably skip this part. Anyways, the ones where it's desecrated. The contempt for the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist is the most flagrant sign by which the new mentality expresses itself. Even without going as far as the rowdy excesses I have just mentioned, this is noticeable every day. The Council of Trent. Okay, so here is where I fully 100% agree. I mean, everything I've read so far is the truth and 100% accurate. There's many, many abuses happening and have happened, and it's because of... That's debatable, I guess. The Council of Trent explained without any possible doubt that our Lord is present in the smallest particles of the consecrated bread. And that's what I was saying earlier. What are we to think then of communion in the hand? When a communion plate is used, even if the communions are few in number, there are always particles remaining. In consequence, the particles now remain in the communicant's hand. The faith of many is shaken by this, especially that of children. Because seriously, if, like, a couple hundred years ago, the children were raised with such a strong belief that this was really Jesus, so strong that they knelt, they received on the tongue, no one would dare touch communion. No one would dare touch Jesus for fear of dropping particles on the ground. And now we're having these children in First Communion receive on the hand. 99% of the children in the world are receiving on the hand. I mean, that's a guess, but I would say it's probably close to that. It's absolutely... How would they believe in the real presence? And now that a study just came out a couple weeks ago where it was like 70% don't believe. Of course they don't. We're letting them receive Jesus, God, on our hands and then wiping him on our shirts. If we believed it was God, we wouldn't allow that. So they're all being brainwashed to think that it's just a symbol, like the Protestants. Anyways. The new way can only have one explanation. If people come to Mass to break the bread of friendship, of the community meal, of the common faith. Wow. These are words my Catholic Church in Illinois, that before I switched to Latin Mass, used. Like, communion of faith, the common faith. We're breaking a friendship. This said same priest literally told me to do things that were against the church. It's really sad. and then talked bad about Trump, but didn't say anything bad about Hillary back then. So Trump is terrible, which I'm not saying he's great, but the woman that's okay with abortion all the way till after birth, leaving them on a table to suffocate, we're not going to say anything against that woman. And same with Pope Francis. Said nothing against Hillary, and then said words against Trump. It's absolutely ludicrous. If you're going to say something about Trump, you should also say something about Hillary that's bad, because she's an evil, evil woman. Anyway, I'm rambling again. So, if the Eucharist, okay, so if it's just the breaking of bread of friendship or a common community meal, then it is quite natural that no excess precautions be taken. If the Eucharist is a symbol expressing simply the memory of a past event, and the spiritual presence of our Lord is not quite logically of our Lord, it is quite logical not to worry about a few crumbs which might fall onto the floor. But if it is a matter of the presence of God Himself, our Creator, as the faith of the Church would have it, the doctrine of the Church says that, how can we understand that such practices be allowed and even encouraged in spite of documents fresh from Rome? The idea which they are endeavoring to insinuate in this way is a Protestant one against which Catholics not yet contaminated are rebelling. To impose it more effectively, the faithful are obliged to communicate standing. Think about it. Everyone used to kneel and receive on the tongue. And then all these Protestant, liberal, modernistic ideals from the 70s, a really bad anti-God time, seeped into our church. And now, I personally know, like 2 people, who this priest a while back forced to stand up. He would not give them communion on the tongue or kneeling. Like, this happened in my presence. Probably a good 5 years ago. And then, but it happens all the time. Even right now, today. It's happening yesterday, it's happening today. And, oh my goodness. If it's Jesus, why would any priest, if a priest believed that that is God, why on earth would they have a person stand up and receive on the hand if the person doesn't want to touch the particles and drop them on the floor? That priest doesn't believe. He doesn't believe it's Christ. Or didn't, at least. It is fitting that when we go to receive Christ, before whom, says St. Paul, every knee shall bow, in heaven, on earth, and under the earth, we should do so without the least sign of respect or allegiance? Is it fitting that we shouldn't show any respect? Many priests no longer genuflect before the Eucharist. Yeah, I mean, I've actually watched priests just walk right across without genuflecting. The new rite of Mass encourages this. People walk all the time right in front of Jesus without genuflecting. Encourages this. I can see, hold on one second. I can see, what was I? Only 2 possible reasons. Either an immense pride, which makes us treat God as if we were His equals, or else the certitude that He is not really present in the Eucharist. I mean, it's true. That's got to be the only... I dropped the phone. Moving on. Am I just getting up a case against the so-called conciliar church? Just ignore that last sentence. No, I am not inventing anything. Listen to the way the dean of the faculty... Well, I mean, that sentence was probably okay. I just don't know what that means yet. I think I kind of know, but I don't want to speak about what I don't know. Anyways, listen to the way the dean of the Faculty of Theology of Strasbourg expresses himself. So here's what this dean of theology was teaching seminarians, I'm pretty sure. We also speak of the presence of a speaker or of an actor, meaning thereby a quality different from a simply geographical being there, quote, being there. So he's talking about the presence of Jesus in the Eucharist, and he's saying it's different than actually being there, and here's what he says about it. After all, someone can be present by a symbolic act, which he does not accomplish physically, but which other people accomplish by creative fidelity to his fundamental intention. Creative fidelity. What? For example, the Festival of Bayreuth realizes without a doubt a presence of Richard Wagner which is greatly superior in intensity to that which may be manifested by occasional recitals or concerts devoted to his music. It is within this last perspective, it seems to me, that we should place the Eucharistic presence of Christ. So he's saying, just like the music reminds us of this Richard Wagner, the communion bread and wine should remind us of Jesus. No. He's physically there, but these people don't believe it. Some of these priests and bishops don't believe it. It's crazy. To compare the Mass with the Bayreuth Festival. No, we certainly do not agree, either regarding the words or the music. This man was very passionate. I've read to chapter like 5 or 6, and it's actually really beautiful reading how passionate he was. And I'm pretty sure everything he writes is pretty accurate, because according to this evidence of what's happened in the church over the last 50, 60 years, and how terrible it is now, and the hierarchy and everything, and I just watched a bunch of different videos on the exorcism of Emily Rose, and they actually mention his name. I've already said that, I'm pretty sure, in one of my videos, but that we should have listened to Lefebvre, is what he's saying. His warnings. Lefebvre? Marcel Lefebvre. Anyways, the point is, like, they're saying that we should have listened to him. We should have heeded his warnings. Because now everything that he said has happened, basically. So, anyways, that's why I go to Latin Mass. Because everything that he says does not happen there. There's no chance of anything bad happening. Okay, there is, I'm sure, still a chance. But it's so much less. And, yeah. Pray your rosary. Go to daily Mass. And until next time, adios.